So you learned about your North Node, and you learned that you have a North Node in the sign of Gemini, but not only is it in the sign of Gemini, but it's also in a house, the 11th house specifically, and you have no idea what that means. What is the difference? If you probably go into it, you see how the 11th house is associated with Aquarius, so then do you read about the North Node in Aquarius? Is that the same thing? No. In this video, I want to break down what it means to have your North Node specifically in Gemini and in 11th house. And additionally, of course, because naturally, when you have this placement, you also have a South Node in Sagittarius in 5th house, and why it is really in the end valuable to understand both. Because the sign tells you what you're here to learn, the energy you're here to learn to embrace, but the house is where you need to learn this. Yes, you do have to embrace this energy, but you don't need to necessarily embrace being curious and intellectual like a Gemini with maybe your family. Maybe you need to learn how to be this energy in your community, which is really what the house is all about. So in this video, I'm going to break this down, give you everything you need to know and some tips for how to actually practically implement this into your life. Hello and welcome back to the channel. I'm Isabelle, your spiritual rebel friend, and today I want to talk about what it means to have your North Node in Gemini and in 11th house. I recently, in the last 6 months, have been doing a lot of research on the North Node in Gemini because I'm a North Node in Taurus, which seems unrelated, but the North Node moves every 18 months. And so a lot of my friends and acquaintances are slightly older than me and have their North Node in Gemini. And of course, based off of their time of birth, the house is different for each of them. But I've been learning a lot about the North Node in Gemini, and honestly, it's a really weird one to me, especially because my dad, who I'm very, very close with and lives practically next door to me all the time, his North Node is in Sagittarius, the opposite. And so to think of Gemini energy in its North Node placement has been very weird for me. It's been something I'm researching a lot. And I wanted to talk about it more because I noticed I have a lot of comments of people asking for specific placements on what it means to have each North Node in sign house combinations. And I want to start checking them off. So this will probably be a mini video, hopefully not too long, covering what you need to know about North Node in Gemini and in 11th house. And I really feel inspired to film about this because I feel that while knowing the North Node sign is important, understanding the house it is in is crucial to your unique journey. Like I said, the North Node moves every 18 months. So you in an 18-month age group all have the same sign North Node. Anyone born within the same 18 months as you is going to have a North Node in Gemini. But how you uniquely embrace this is going to be dependent on your time of birth. Where in your life do you need to embrace this? Some people so often, I know for me, I did this too, we go to embrace our North Node and go, easy, checked it off, done. I'm a North Node in Taurus. I have all the routines, all the plans, all the schedules that revolve around indulgence. Turns out my North Node's in my 5th house, which is much harder to embrace. And so if you're a North Node in Gemini and you've been hopefully you've watched my video on this and you've been learning about how to embrace this more, you've probably been trying to be more curious, be more focused on the present, right here, right now, enjoying the little things, watching the butterflies, sitting in gardens. You've been asking more questions. You've been learning more of the data behind things like astrology. And you feel like, done, checked it off. Well, that's not quite your full journey with a North Node in Gemini in 11th house. The 11th house has to be applied. So what is the 11th house and what is a North Node in Gemini? I'm going to give a really brief summary on what it means to have a North Node in Gemini standalone right now, because if you want to learn more, you can always check out my video. I'm going to put a card up here. I always forget which side and I always forget to put it in, so I'm really exaggerating here. Someone tell me if I forget to put the card in, please. It really helps. So if you want to learn more about what it means to have North Node in Gemini and South Node in Sagittarius, you can learn more about that. The 11th house and 5th house axis. So if you have naturally your North Node in 11th house, you're going to have a South Node in 5th house. So I want to cover both of these really quick. And this is an axis I'm very familiar with because my own North and South Node are in these signs, reversed, but in the same houses nonetheless. The North Node, the 11th house, 5th house axis really is a beautiful one. And I love it so much. And I feel like a song that really summarizes the difference well is Down to the Honky Tonk by Jake Owens, I believe. Look up that song and it gives a really good indication to what this kind of contrast is about. The 11th house, 5th house axis revolves around the idea of why are we here on Earth? Are we here to make a big change, make a ripple effect in humanity, find the cure to cancer, live a purpose, do something big and grandiose? Or is it just to have fun? The 11th house, 5th house axis revolves around this balance that we all need in life. And when it's in your north and south node, this is accentuated. Your life is revolving around this axis. With a south node in 5th house, you have a natural tendency to know what you need to have fun. You know how to enjoy your life. And depending on the sign it's in will be how you have that fun. You might not seek fun the way that is stereotypically said, going out partying, being adventurous. Though if you have, in this case, a South Node in Sagittarius, it's very likely that you had very adventurous tendencies in fun growing up. You may have been the kind to go into different drugs, be very open-minded to alcohol and things like that, traveling the world, being impulsive. That's one example. But regardless, you were open-minded and adventurous and enthusiastic with how you had fun. The 5th house in general is the house of fun and play, creative expression. This is representative of Leo. Leo built the 5th house, and so this revolves around basically Leo themes, but it's the practical side of it. If Leo had to summarize what they value and build a house around it, this is what it is. Creative expression, play, childlike joy, romance, flirtation. In the end, what the 5th house is about is fun, childlike fun. And so whenever we have a planet in 5th house, we are very playful here. We are fun loving. We are just about the present. The 5th house in the end thinks that life is supposed to be fun and all we need to do is enjoy ourselves, nothing bigger. So when you have the South Node here, that's how you naturally see life growing up, is you know how to optimize your fun, you know how to optimize your life enjoyment. But opposite of the 5th house is the 11th house. And the 11th house is built by Aquarius, which we know Aquarius in comparison to Leo is very much about the ripple effect on humanity. They're very humanitarian, individualistic. They're seeing the macro scale of life. Leo sees the micro, Aquarius sees the macro. They see that we are supposed to be something greater. This is where we learn that in our journey, Aquarius is about where we go say, okay, I've optimized my life, but now how can I leave the world a better place? So the 11th house specifically is about purpose. Words associated with the 11th house is purpose, big dreams and aspirations, community, friends. Those are the 4 words most commonly associated because it's trying to encompass this idea of how do we fit into something greater. So when we have strong 11th house energy in our chart, we become focused on leaving an impact on the world. This is the cure to cancer thing, solve world hunger, doing these big projects, being a part of something bigger, whether that's a friend group or community or corporation, to serve to feel a sense of purpose. Usually the word purpose is associated with the 9th house. And I do want to take a quick moment to explain the difference a little bit, because understanding this will help you understand your 11th house north node better. The 9th house is more so about why are we all here on Earth, versus the 11th house is why am I here on Earth? And so if you have a north node in the 11th house, your path to growth is to find a greater sense of purpose. You're here to try to figure out how you can leave specifically an impact on the world. You specifically. The 9th house, if you had a north node there, is more about understanding our purpose all for being here on Earth. Like, why did God put us here more so? Versus the 11th house is about your specific journey. Why am I here? What impact can I make? What are my unique talents and gifts that I can serve the world? So how does this cross over with Gemini? Because the whole point of this video is not just to say what it means to have your north node in 11th house, because if you want to learn more about that, you can also check out my video on the north node in 11th house, which I believe I filmed somewhere here. Of course I have. I haven't looked at my channel in a while. I know I haven't filmed as much as I should, but with a north node in 11th house and in Gemini, you're going to have a completely different story or a completely unique story. So what does it mean to have your north node in 11th house in Gemini and south node in Sagittarius in 5th house? And I'll probably put a card here as well or a timestamp so you guys can jump right ahead to this, because I know you guys are information-based go-getters, and you just want all the information now. So if you have a South Node in Sagittarius in 5th house, you are someone who has an adventurous, enthusiastic, or open-minded or ideological spirit naturally at a young age. You're someone who constantly wanted to be on the go, constantly moving. You probably have a strong physical capacity. I always think that people with a Sagittarius South Node naturally have a tendency to be physically strong or physically capable of handling a lot, whether that's, being able to lift things, move things, be naturally talented, or just simply handle a lot of pressure. And so these people go towards intense experiences from a young age. And when this is in the 5th house, these intense experiences tend to be revolving around fun. I think these are the people who stereotypically in their teen years end up going through a rebellious phase where they get into some sort of scary adventure that their parents would die hearing about, or some sort of alcohol or drugs or partying. That's just the stereotypical energy here. And I'm curious to hear if this stereotype is true for you. Let me know in the comments below. Were you the stereotypical rebellious child growing up? Did you have a heavy partying phase? Really, this energy can be present with the 5th house South Node. You're naturally someone who wants to have fun in very intense, adventurous ways. And also, you can be dogmatic. There's a natural tendency, because you see life's philosophy, you can see the big picture to some degree, to say, well, I don't need to question why I'm here. I don't need to question what our purpose is, because I kind of see already why we are here. So I'm just going to go pour myself another drink to have some fun. And I think this is interesting to note too, because I talked about the difference between the 11th house and 9th house, which if you skipped ahead to the timestamp and didn't catch this part, I recommend you go back and watch through. But Sagittarius created the 9th house, and we kind of touched on that because the 11th house and 9th house can seem very similar. So since Sagittarius built the 9th house with this as the South Node energy, in contrast with your North Node in 11th house, it can feel like, well, the journey is, I already know why God created us. I don't need to question that. We're here. I don't care. Let's just have fun. There's this kind of know-it-all energy to the South Node 5th house, Sagittarius 5th house South Node, that can make them go, well, I already know why we're here. It's not that big of a deal. It's not that grandiose. We are kind of just here. I'm just gonna go do my own thing, have my own fun, and do what I want to do because there's nothing greater for me. And this is a natural talent of yours. I do want to note really quick that while this sounds kind of negative, the natural talent with the South Node Sagittarius in 5th house is you have an adventurous spirit. You're highly physical capable, and you know what fun looks like. Often I think these people are here to bring fun to other people's environment. They're here to bring an adventure, and their experiences that they have undertaken with this South Node 5th house that wants to just do something so adventurous, whether that be a road trip or something completely different. Their experiences were so drastic that it gave them great life lessons and a greater picture on what their personal philosophy is, because Sagittarius is all about philosophy. So what does it mean then on the contrast to have the North Node in 11th house in Gemini? How does this play together? With the North Node in Gemini and in 11th house, what this really puts an emphasis on is in early years, like you said, you're rebellious, adventurous, doing the most extreme things, maybe being an adrenaline junkie, maybe being hyper ideological, and you find that there's a bit of a lack in there because you got to have the most intense experiences. You've had the highest of dopamine highs, and you feel like somehow, no matter whatever I get addicted to, whether that be an experience, an interest, an adventure, a substance, whatever it is, there's a hole lacking in you. And that is because you don't see why you specifically are here on Earth. You feel like you have the sky is the limit for all your experiences. You could do anything you want. And yet, no matter how much you seek out there, there's something lacking in here. And that is the journey of generally having a North Node in 11th house, because you are a master of finding fulfillment out there. You can indulge in anything you want. You know exactly how to have a good time, whether that be a party or just staying home and reading a good book. But you feel that you're missing the sense of purpose for you specifically being here. With the North Node in 11th house, you have an internal journey to take. And this eventually does play out externally. And I think this is very true for the Gemini 11th house North Node. But generally with the North Node in 11th house, This is about really embodying the fact that you uniquely have a purpose. So if your North Node is in Gemini in 11th house, you are here to find your sense of purpose by being curious. The energy of Gemini still applies here. You just need to embrace it to fulfill a sense of purpose. So the way I would see this playing out is with a Gemini North Node in 11th house, your highest path to growth is, I'm trying to find the right words here. Your highest path to growth is to embrace data, curiosity, and networking in order to fulfill a sense of career. The simplest way to put this is share data and information with a community. These people need to be a part of a community, networking. You are the kind of person who may need to put on networking events to bring other people together. Instead of being focused on your purpose and journey and what you've learned, you need to be social to bring other people together. All Gemini North Nodes, oh, my phone's almost gonna die. All Gemini North Nodes need to be social, I believe. Now, that doesn't mean hyper social. That doesn't mean you have to always be social, but you can bring people together. And I think that is something you're here to do. And when this is the 11th house, you need to bring community together. And that's how I really see this. Gemini really is about networking and socializing. And so when your North Node is in 11th house, your purpose is to embrace this. You need to do this with community, with friends. You could be the friend rallier. And in a way, it's about being less personal, which is kind of an obvious one with the 11th house, like we talked about. This is about seeing what impact you'll leave on the world. And yes, your personal journey plays into this, but these people are here to use their enthusiasm of their South Node to bring other people together in their North Node, to bring communities together, to bring friends together, to help merge the social network. And I think this energy really does work so beautifully together because the 11th house is naturally ruled by an air sign, Aquarius, and Gemini is also an air sign. So there's a focus on intellect, on using your knowledge, using the facts rather than the emotion to bring people together and leave an impact. Another interpretation of this would be to enter a business, enter a corporation, some sort of establishment or cause that is built around data and facts, because Gemini is someone who learns. They are a researcher. They have all the data. They focus on the minute knowledge. So you may want to focus, instead of, rallying your community together, maybe instead you need to be part of a mission, a cause that is focused on the data, because in early years, you were so focused on the subjective truth. Now it's time for you to focus on the objective truth. And yes, your subjective truth of your personal experience plays into that, but the North Node in Gemini in 11th house is about being more objective. And instead of being focused on the personal journey, listening to the journey of others. And that is a simple phrase I want to add to this. A key takeaway for a Gemini North Node in 11th house is ask questions to your community. Ask questions to other people. Maybe the greatest gift you can give to other people is to be curious. Let your curiosity lead you. And I also think with a Gemini North Node in 11th house, another interpretation of this is, like we talked about, it is a external purpose and an internal. And so a lot of your growth is going to be about asking yourself the questions to contemplate your purpose. Asking yourself, what am I here to do? What are my talents? The act of you trying to discover your purpose uniquely for being here is your growth, which I'm sure to a Gemini North Node 11th house goes, yay, contemplation. Can't I just do something? And that is the natural energy of a Sagittarius, your South Node, to do something. But this might be a bit of contemplative energy, to sit down and focus on the little things rather than the big things. So in the end, to give a bit of a different approach to this summary, because I know there's a lot of information to it, let's review the basics and the combinations, basically, because this is how my brain sees it, and I think this will help you the most, because there are a few different ways your North Node can play out. Yes, regardless, a Gemini North Node needs to be curious, ask questions, and socialize and network in their community with their friend groups and find a sense of purpose through data. But there's many different ways that can play out. After all, that was a long string of a sentence. So in the end, if you have a Gemini North Node, be curious, ask questions, review the data, focus on the information, the objective information. Where should you do this? In a community, in a corporation or cause, and with yourself to find your sense of purpose. You're growing towards having a sense of purpose. Ask yourself the ripple effect you can leave on humanity, and you may need to slow down in order to do so. Focus on the facts, focus on the data of it. And I would love to give more information on this and answer any more questions you have. So let me know what questions you have in the comments below. And if you want to learn more about how this specifically plays out with your chart, because here's the deal, here's the rub. Yes, you have a unique North Node in 11th house and in Gemini, but where your other planetary placements are will also highly affect this. So if you have, for example, a lot of water energy in your chart, if you have a moon in Scorpio or a Mars in Scorpio or Cancer or Pisces, this is going to be weirder for you to embrace. If you have a lot of Gemini energy, you're going to need to embrace this even more, and it's going to feel even more potentially awkward. If you have a lot of Sagittarius energy, this changes your chart matters. So book a reading in the link in the description below. Let me know what questions you have in the comments below. Let me know what interpretations about the Gemini North Node in the 11th house that I missed that you would love to share with the community. After all, if you have a North Node in Gemini in 11th house, you should share the data and interpretations with the community, with the collective. So comment below, what did I miss? What are your thoughts? I would love to hear them. Everyone else would too. And be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned for more videos breaking down the stars and more. What is your unique North Node placement? What other planets do you have there? If you're watching this video for a friend who has this placement, so to say, then let me know what your unique placement is, sign and house North Node, in the comments below, and I'll be sure to film a video on that. I'm laughing to myself because I know I said this is going to be a short video, and I'm pretty sure it's airing on about 20 minutes or something now. All I know is that it was not short. So hopefully you guys like this video. Thank you guys so much for watching all the way through. Be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and stay tuned. Once again, my name is Isabelle, and from my heart to yours, namaste.